The first red flag wasn't the 4:45 p.m. HR check-in on a Thursday. It was the dead silence when she walked into the room. 3 people were already seated. Karen from HR, some intern who looked like he still got carded for Red Bull, and Malcolm Reese, the CFO, staring at her like she'd just tracked sewage into a funeral. No chairs offered, no greeting, just a thick manila envelope on the table like a paper tombstone for her career. "Leah, we appreciate your contributions," Karen began, in that overly rehearsed voice people use when they're pretending not to enjoy firing someone. "But due to strategic resource optimization and broader Q3 restructuring, your position has been deemed non-essential," Malcolm cut in, folding his hands like he was about to offer her a reverse mortgage. Non-essential. She blinked once, not out of confusion, but because the words hit her like a seatbelt cinching too tight during a crash. No performance review, no lead-up, no goodbye cake, just non-essential, as if she were some dusty relic taking up room in their minimalist org chart. A broken printer they forgot to throw away. Leah took the envelope, nodded once, and walked out. She didn't cry. Not in the elevator. Not when she passed the receptionist, who pretended she didn't exist. Not even when she tried her badge at the glass lobby doors and it gave a muted red denial tone. But she did stop outside the break room. Not for coffee or the vending machine trail mix she hated. No, because she heard laughter. Loud, snorting, open-mouthed laughter. "Saved us $200K, Malcolm was saying, like he'd just pulled a rabbit out of a budget. "1 meeting. Boom! Legacy fat cleared. She'll probably end up starting an Etsy or selling candles. Good for her, right?" More laughter. Leah stood there for 5 seconds too long. Just long enough to picture turning back around, stuffing the envelope down Malcolm's throat and stapling it to his colon. But she didn't. She just walked out, face like stone, burning with humiliation. 20 years. She'd been with that company when the phones still had cords and the company intranet took 3 tries to load. She stayed through 4 office moves, 2 buyouts, 3 CEOs, and 1 financial crisis. She was the person who ran every major contract renewal since 2011. She knew clients' pets' names, kids' birthdays, one exec's gluten intolerance, not the performative kind, the real, EpiPen in the purse kind. But apparently, to them, she was legacy fat. Back in her Prius, Leah opened the envelope. Standard severance terms. 8 weeks' pay. Binding NDA. Return all proprietary materials. The usual death certificate dressed up in HR legalese. Except, stapled in the back was a document titled Exhibit A. She squinted, recognized the formatting instantly. Her spreadsheet. The one she'd built a decade ago from scratch. Relationship data. Renewal dates. Executive birthdays. Preferred wine labels. Client trivia. Notes from years of working side by side with decision makers who trusted her more than they ever trusted the logo on her business card. And there, at the bottom of every page, curated and maintained by Leah Givens. She leaned back in the seat, closed her eyes, and for the first time that day, she smiled. Not because she had a plan, not yet, but because they'd just handed her a tactical nuke, wrapped in polite HR paperwork, and the CFO was still in the break room, high-fiving himself. Back in her apartment, Leah sat curled in the recliner that still smelled faintly of eucalyptus oil and the ghost of her ex-husband's cologne. The manila envelope spilled across her lap like a crime scene. Most of the severance documents were boilerplate, standard termination clauses, NDA reminders, LinkedIn talking point suggestions, as if anything said thank you for firing me quite like a smiling public endorsement. But she ignored all that. Her fingers found their way back to Exhibit A. The title felt sterile, clinical, but as she flipped through it slowly, page by page, her breath started to settle into something sharper. This wasn't just a list. It was a time capsule. Every column header was hers. Every note scribbled next to a client's name carried her fingerprint. column by column, name by name. Call Rick before noon. He's a morning person, hates 3 p.m. calls. Jenna's kid has a dairy allergy. No pizza lunches. Never mention competitors to Albert. Burned in 15. Some notes went back over a decade. One entry simply read, "Client's wife undergoing chemo. Do not pitch anything until January. Sensitive." Another, "Only responds to Leah. Hates email but texts back in seconds." Her thumb hovered over that one. "Only responds to Leah." She swallowed hard. What they'd given her wasn't just foolish. It was reckless. This wasn't a client list. It was relationship DNA, laced with emotional triggers, behavioral insight, and loyalty metrics that most executives couldn't even pronounce, let alone understand. And thanks to one careless copy-paste job in HR, Leah now legally owned it. No watermark, no redactions, no retrieval clause. The CFO had been so busy congratulating himself for saving a few $100,000 that he didn't realize he'd just handed her the playbook. She didn't scream, didn't pour a drink, didn't even stand up. Instead, Leah sat perfectly still. Let the realization wash over her like a slow, cold tide. This company, once so proud to call her the client whisperer, had discarded her like expired toner, and in doing so, they'd given her a Molotov cocktail of insight and negligence. Her phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Malcolm Reese posted an update. "Difficult decisions are part of growth. Grateful for those who helped us get here." The comments were a blend of sycophantic applause and emoji condolences. Strong leadership. Hard, but necessary. Efficiency. Forward. Leah let out a sharp, disbelieving snort. She clicked on his profile. The photo. Him in front of a palm plant. Blazer too tight. Smiling like he just convinced a small-town mayor to build a freeway through a wetland. His entire bio was buzzwords and boardroom fluff. She glanced back at her spreadsheet. 47 names, 47 relationships, 47 cracks in a dam that no one else could see. She didn't know when she'd strike. Not yet. This wasn't revenge. It was math. But the match had been lit. And the gasoline? It was in a spreadsheet with her name printed at the bottom. Leah met Liz Ramos at a dive bar that smelled like old vinyl booths and half-melted ice. They hadn't seen each other in years. Liz, a former client turned LinkedIn commenter turned drinks someday friend, now worked for Neuron Sync, a well-funded upstart Leah had always kept an eye on. Liz stirred her martini and raised an eyebrow. "So, they really did it?" "Like expired meat," Leah muttered, swirling her bourbon. 20 years, and I was escorted out like I'd farted during a eulogy. Liz shook her head. "Jesus, you were half their client loyalty strategy. Apparently loyalty isn't as scalable as buzzwords." A pause. Then Liz leaned in. "Hey, not to sound predatory, but ever consider jumping ship?" Leah looked up slowly. Liz continued. "We've wanted you for years. Your relationships aren't just warm, they're platinum. I bet half your old clients already feel the gap." "I'm radioactive," Leah said flatly. "Our CEO loves radioactive," Liz said with a wicked grin. "Especially when it glows green and eats away at our competitors' revenue." Leah didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. Liz scribbled an email address on a cocktail napkin and slid it across the table. "Shoot your resume over tonight. I'll hand-deliver it myself." Leah drove home buzzed, not from the bourbon, but from the flicker of something she hadn't felt in weeks. Not anger, not relief. Possibility. She sat at her desk, still surrounded by sympathy orchids from coworkers too scared to speak up, but too guilty not to send flowers. She opened a fresh document. Her resume didn't need updating. It was already immaculate. She kept it that way out of habit, like a prepper keeps a go bag by the door. 36 hours later, She sat across from a panel at NeuronSync's San Diego headquarters. The air smelled like ambition and lemon oil. No HR scripts, no buzzword bingo, just real questions, real people. And they listened. 48 hours after that, her phone rang. The voice on the other end was crisp, confident, and, most importantly, interested. "We'd love to bring you on board," said the CEO, Darren Sloan. His voice was all gravel and calm, like a man who drank black coffee at midnight and made decisions before sunrise. "Full autonomy. We don't care about titles. We care about trust. You'll be our new strategic client lead. That sound good?" Leah looked out the window. Across the street, a construction crew jackhammered the sidewalk like it owed them money. She smiled. "Sounds great," she said. After the call, she reached into her desk drawer, pulled out the now creased pages of Exhibit A. She didn't need revenge. Not yet. She had something better. Leverage. And in the corporate world, leverage was scripture. NeuronSync was everything her old job wasn't. Sleek, smart, alive. The office was light-filled and open. No cubicle jungles or expired breakroom creamer. Her desk? Walnut. Clean lines. The chair didn't squeak. And in the bottom drawer, folded neatly and untouched, was Exhibit A. A love letter from a life that didn't deserve her. She didn't wave it around, didn't gloat. She didn't have to. Because NeuronSync played a different game. Darren, the CEO, called her into his office the following week. No agenda, just coffee. His mug read, "Don't confuse lean with cheap." He leaned back and asked one question. "So," Darren said, "what kind of relationships are you bringing with you?" Leah smiled, lips closed. "A few strong ones. Might take time." He nodded. "We don't need fireworks. Just friction." Then he winked, slow and sure, like a man handing her a matchbook. Back at her desk, Leah got to work. She didn't blow anything up. She mapped the terrain. NeuronSync's CRM was modern but bloodless. It had data, but no texture, no birthdays, no allergy notes, no history. She started quietly. No system entries, no metadata trails. Just a beat-up notebook she picked up from a gas station. On the cover, written in black Sharpie, garden tools. Nobody asked, nobody cared. Inside, page by page, Leah began reconstructing what her old company had taken for granted. She cross-referenced birthdays with budget cycles. She knew that Q3 would be the weakest point. She'd engineered it that way years ago, stacking renewals to align with budget resets. She logged pain points, gaps, missing reports, botched meetings. One client had a product launch coming in September. No one on the current team had the experience to walk them through it. Another was still expecting a custom analytics report Leah used to build herself. She doubted anyone at the old place even knew that was due. This wasn't revenge. It was preparation. By week 3, she had identified 12 vulnerable accounts. 6 were frustrated. 4 were confused. 2 were furious. And one was Hartmere Systems, the so-called pillar client, the one Malcolm once said was untouchable. Leah said nothing, not to Darren, not to her new colleagues, but each night she sat at her kitchen counter, sipped tea, and highlighted names in her garden tools notebook. Phase 1, mapping, complete. Phase 2, contact. Initiated. It began with an email so casual it could have worn jeans and sneakers. Subject line, just checking in. Recipient, Paige Drummond, VP of Procurement at Tolland & Green, one of Leah's longest-standing accounts. They'd survived 3 CFO changes, a merger, and Paige's brutal 2017 divorce. Bonded over shared Caesar salads and too many glasses of Pinot during a thunderstorm in Charlotte. Leah didn't attach a pitch deck. No Neuron Sync branding, just a message. Hey Paige, hope you're holding up in the madness. Just wanted to say hi and let you know I've landed somewhere new. Felt weird not staying in touch after all these years. No agenda, I swear. Just miss our catch-ups. Take care. Leah? She hit send and waited. 3 hours later, her inbox pinged. Subject: Just checking in, Leah. Holy hell, you're alive. I figured you joined a monastery or went underground. No one said a thing. One day, you were just gone. They dumped us into a generic support inbox and gave us some kid who thinks escalation means shouting louder. Where are you? Can I call you? P. Leah smiled. Not petty, something deeper. She wrote back, Of course, anytime. I'm with Neuron Sync now. Would love to catch up. Paige called 27 seconds later. Okay, she whispered, conspiratorial. I'm just going to say it. It's been hell since you left. Leah let her talk. They assigned us to this guy, Travis. He signs emails, cheers, and thinks PDF attachments are optional. He told me yesterday that QBRs are kind of a legacy concept. I swear to God, Leah, I wanted to bite my laptop. Leah chuckled. Sounds innovative. Screw you. Paige laughed. You were the only reason we stuck around last year. You caught that double billing error before we even noticed. You sent flowers when my mom passed. Your name is still in our Slack channel. You never removed me? Leah asked. Hell no. I kept hoping you'd come back. That stopped her. Not someone like you. Just you. Paige's tone softened. Look, I don't want to overstep, and maybe it's too soon, but if you're allowed to talk about your new role, I'd be curious. Leah's heart beat slow, steady. She leaned into it. I'd love that, she said. Let me get a few things together. That night, Leah didn't run to email the good news. She didn't drop it in Slack or rush a meeting with Darren. Instead, she just sat, still, quiet, and let it sink in. It wasn't just that they noticed she was gone. It was that they felt it. Her name didn't belong to her old company anymore. It belonged to her. At Neuron Sync, they didn't call it a war room, but that's what it was. A side conference room in the East Wing, half whiteboards, half chaos. Takeout containers, coffee rings, a Bluetooth speaker that needed therapy to pair. Leah stood at the head of the table. On it, Exhibit A, now divided by renewal date, revenue weight, and what she called emotional gravity, her personal trinity. To her left sat Erica from Creative, red pen in hand, expression pure murder. To her right, Mo from Sales, nodding like he'd bet the mortgage on every idea. Across from her, Darren, tapping a pen like it was Morse code. You sure this isn't overkill? He asked, flipping through a folder. Overkill, Leah said without looking up, is sending one email blast and praying someone clicks learn more. This is surgical. Each packet had been handcrafted. No fluff, no stock photos, no industry-leading solutions garbage, just insight. Real, personal, irreplaceable insight. Each packet was a scalpel, not a hammer. Client A hadn't had a face-to-face review since Leah's departure. Client B hadn't received their quarterly metrics because no one remembered she used to prep them manually. Client C's CIO had quietly finalized a divorce, and the sympathy card never arrived because Leah was the one who would have sent it. Every dossier was built around a crack, each one designed to slide in quietly and expand over time. Every folder included a handwritten note, simple, consistent. We understand you've lost your point of contact. We'd be honored to be considered. No pitch, just permission. Erica let out a low whistle as she packed the last one into a matte navy envelope. These feel more like wedding invitations than sales collateral. That's the point, Leah said. This isn't a sales push. It's a homecoming. Mo raised an eyebrow. You want me to start reaching out next week? Leah shook her head. No follow-ups. Really? Let them sit with it, she said. Let them feel the absence. Darren smiled at her, slow and knowing. You really do know where the nerves are, don't you? I spent 15 years memorizing their pressure points, Leah replied. All I'm doing is giving them a gentle nudge. When the courier arrived, Leah gave him one instruction. Deliver them all on the same day, executive floors only, no exceptions. The courier nodded, eyes wide like she'd handed him national secrets. And then, silence. No dramatic replies. No fireworks, just stillness. The calm before an executive earthquake. 27 hours later, her inbox pinged. Subject: Opportunity to reconnect. From Hartmere Systems. Leah, you have no idea how good it is to see your name again. Let's talk soon. Her breath hitched for half a second. She didn't respond. Not right away. She let the anticipation settle into her spine like a warm current through a cracked window. They lit the match when they fired her. Now she'd given them the gasoline. The first whisper came from a former intern, now a junior strategist at some boutique firm in Chicago. LinkedIn DM, 9:03 a.m. Hey, Leah. Not sure what you did, but just saw 2 execs from your old place melting down in line at Starbucks. Heard client attrition and panic. You okay? Also, massive respect. She didn't respond, just smiled faintly and muted the notification. 2 hours later, another ping. Not from Neuron Sync. From the Slack channel of her old company. Because in their rush to offboard her, they'd never removed her from the external vendors channel. The thread was quiet. Until someone named Travis, the same genius who thought PDFs were optional, posted, Can someone send me the previous contact logs for Tolland and Green? They just canceled their Q4 planning session, said they're reassessing vendors. Leah stared at the word reassessing. Let it linger. 10 minutes later, another ping. Just got off the phone with Hartmere. They're pulling development budget and postponing contract renewal. Said their needs have evolved. Anyone know what that means? Leah did. She wrote that exact phrase in their tailored proposal. We know your needs have evolved. We're here to meet you where you are. Not a coincidence. A mirror. The wave had started to break. At 12:12 p.m., a text from Liz. You seeing this? They pulled out of the Midwest Innovation Summit. $150K in exposure, gone. CFO skipped the leadership lunch, locked himself in his glass box all morning. Leah didn't answer, just flipped open her garden tools notebook, turned to the page labeled Phase 2, erosion underlined, 3 names, Tolland and Green Hartmere Systems RevNet beside each. Cracked. Leah didn't celebrate. No champagne in the break room. No triumphant emails to Darren. She just closed her notebook, straightened her desk, and went for a walk to the corner cafe. Ordered a black coffee. Sat on a bench outside. Watched 2 pigeons fight over a piece of bagel like it was a divorce proceeding. The air smelled like rain and potential. Her phone buzzed again. Sam Ellison, former project manager, shadowed her for 2 years. Smart kid, nervous eyes. Text, 2:46 p.m. Emergency all hands tomorrow. Topic, client retention strategy. Everyone's freaking out. It's like the ghost of you is haunting the whole place. You're a legend. Leah stared at the word ghost. It hit different. Ghosts didn't rage. Ghosts didn't scream. Ghosts lingered. And she had made sure she'd lingered in all the right places. That evening, the Neuron Sync sales team gathered for their regular Thursday sync. progress check-ins, pipeline updates. When it was Leah's turn, she kept it short. 3 contacts reestablished, 2 proposals in consideration, 1 signed. Darren looked up from his tablet. His smile was small but knowing. Quiet week, huh? Leah crossed her legs and smiled back. The kind of smile you see on a Sunday school teacher holding a casserole in one hand and a shovel in the other. Just planting seeds, she said. Spring's coming early. The call came at 6:17 p.m., that weird hour between shutting your laptop and pouring your first glass of wine. Unknown number, Cleveland area code. She didn't pick up immediately. Let it ring once, twice. On the second try, she answered. Hello? Silence. Then, a voice. Leah. Just her name. No introduction. But she recognized the tone. CEO panic. That brittle blend of forced politeness and boiling desperation. Well, she said calmly, that was fast. I just got off the phone with 2 board members. The voice hissed. Do you have any idea what kind of damage you're doing? Leah took a slow sip of tea. Earl Grey. No sugar, just heat. I'm doing very well, actually. Thank you for asking. You've been contacting our clients? No, she said, cutting him off. I've been reconnecting with people I've built trust with over 15 years. If you accidentally handed me a proprietary document in my own severance packet. She let the sentence trail off, like steam rising from a mug. That list was confidential. You labeled it Exhibit A, she said. Maybe check with your legal team. I swear to God, Leah. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Real power doesn't yell. It sits perfectly still while the other party self-destructs. You should check your mail, she said evenly. A pause. What? Your actual physical mail? Courier delivered yesterday. Navy envelopes, handwritten names. You'll know them when you see them. Jesus Christ. Not quite, Leah said, but close enough. There was a beat of silence on the other end, the kind that hangs in the air when a man realizes the hammer he's swinging is actually a boomerang. You orchestrated this, he whispered. I didn't orchestrate anything, Leah replied. I'm just available. Turns out, when people miss being treated like humans, they tend to seek out the one person who always did. You know how hard we've worked to retain those clients? You mean the ones you reassigned to that genius who spells logistics with a Z? She laughed softly. Yeah, real ironclad. You think this is funny? No, Leah said. I think it's poetic. Silence, the long dragging kind. Then finally, he asked, How many? Leah didn't answer. She just smiled into the receiver, slow and calm. That's the thing about trust, she said. You never really know it's gone. Until it's too late. And with the serenity of a surgeon folding gauze, she ended the call. Click. No profanity. No final speech. Just silence. She set the phone down gently. Her laptop pinged. New email. Subject line. Excited to move forward. Signed and returned. She exhaled through her nose. No smile. Not yet. This wasn't revenge. This was performance art. The boardroom at her old company smelled like panic and overpriced air freshener. 10 executives. 1 oversized oak table. 0 answers. In the center of the table, a small stack of navy blue envelopes addressed in perfect handwriting. No logos, no branding, no explanation. The interns hadn't even known who to route them to. Half the C-suite thought they were invitations to a charity gala, or maybe boutique consulting proposals. They opened the first one at 9:01 a.m. By 9:08, no one was speaking. Each letter was custom-tailored. Not generic, not spam, just eerie in its precision. The client knew Leah had left, but hadn't been told why. They referenced service issues unresolved for 2 quarters. Frustrations that had been ignored. One letter even mentioned a missing invoice correction, the exact language Leah had used. "This is confidential," someone muttered, holding a trembling sheet of paper. The legal intern flipped through the HR packet Leah had signed. Nope," she said, already regretting law school. "We labeled it Exhibit A. It's in the termination packet. But that's proprietary," the VP of Operations barked. "She didn't steal it," legal replied. "We gave it to her. She didn't even use it directly. NeuronSync sent these." A suffocating pause. Then the VP of Sales exploded. "You're telling me we fired the one person who actually understood our clients, then handed her the damn map on her way out, and now she's using it to poach our pipeline, and there's nothing we can do? Technically?" Legal said. Yes, someone knocked over a coffee. The CFO, Malcolm Reese, sat frozen. The same man who bragged about cutting $200K in dead weight. He didn't speak. Couldn't. Because just then, the chairman of the board, gray-haired, stone-faced, with 3 heart attacks and a liver like mahogany, leaned forward. His voice was soft, deadly. "Malcolm, do you still think firing Leah Givens was a good idea?" Nobody answered. Back at NeuronSync, Leah sat in her glass-walled office, sipping a latte from her favorite mug. The mug read, "Legacy, huh?" Outside, early fall sun filtered through clean windows. No buzzing fluorescents, no sagging ceiling tiles, no emergency meetings. On her desk, a tidy stack of signed contracts. All recent, all poached. Her inbox chimed again. Subject, moving forward. "Leah, our team's ready. We've signed the agreement. It already feels like things are back on track. Grateful to be working with you again." She didn't smile. Not fully. She just closed the email, took another sip, leaned back. The bottom drawer of her desk was still slightly ajar. Inside it, folded with reverence, was Exhibit A. She would never need to touch it again. The war was over, and she'd won it without ever raising her voice. At her old company, they tried to spin it, sent out an internal memo about market shifts and client consolidation. But people talk. Receptionists, project managers. Junior analysts who weren't invited to the war room but saw the CFO pacing the parking lot, red-faced, chain-smoking, like it was 1998. The story started to leak. A whisper here, a LinkedIn comment there. Leah's name started showing up in client Slack channels again. Quietly, reverently. The kind of reverence you reserve for someone who saved your budget in Q4 without being asked. A week later, Darren dropped by her office. No formal meeting, no scheduled check-in. Just him and a mug of coffee that said, "Margins are morality." "Mind if I sit?" he asked. She gestured to the chair. He leaned back, studied her. "You good?" he asked. "I'm better than I've been in years." Darren nodded slowly, then tapped the edge of her desk. "We've had 6 clients mention you by name this week. 4 have already signed. 2 are asking for you to lead personally. You've rebuilt half a book of business in under a month." She said nothing, just listened. "I don't want to pressure you," Darren said. "But if there's more you want to do, more names, more projects, you'll have full backing. And if you don't, that's okay too." Leah looked out the window. Across the street, a mural was being painted on the side of a coffee shop. Bright colors, fresh lines. A restart. She turned back to Darren. "I think," she said, "it's time to water some new gardens." Later that night, Leah opened her notebook one last time. Garden tools. She flipped to the final page. No names, just a single sentence scrawled in pen. Sometimes you bury the past. Sometimes you plant it. She closed the cover and slid it into a drawer. Didn't lock it. Didn't need to. Because her real leverage now wasn't a spreadsheet. It was reputation. It was trust. In the weeks that followed, Neuron Sync launched 3 new partnerships, each one sourced through Leah's connections. Client after client quietly jumped ship. Not with fanfare, but with relief. Because she didn't just bring insight, she brought confidence. And in the C-suite, confidence is more valuable than capital. At her old company, the bleeding didn't stop. The CFO resigned for personal reasons. The junior PM who replaced her lasted 3 weeks before ghosting HR. Clients stopped returning calls. Renewals stalled, then dropped. The board launched an internal audit. Legal backtracked every document Leah had been handed. But it was all signed, all legit, nothing stolen, no breach, no violations, just consequences. Leah hadn't broken a single rule. She'd simply remembered everything, and they had forgotten what she was worth. A month later, she received a letter at home. Thick envelope, no return address. Inside, a folded sheet of corporate letterhead. From the chairman. "Leah, I can't undo what's been done, but I can acknowledge a mistake. You were never non-essential. You were the spine. We forgot, and we paid the price. No ask, no apology, just an admission." She folded the letter, tucked it in the back of her file drawer, not to keep, just to remember. On her birthday, her desk was covered in cards, not from coworkers, from clients. Dozens of them, handwritten, personal. Some had worked with her 10 years, some only weeks. All said the same thing: "Glad you're back." She sat at her desk, coffee in hand, sunlight spilling across the floor. The war was over. No raised voices, no broken rules, just patience, precision, and presence. And somewhere, in a forgotten office, a man who once laughed about saving $200K was staring at an empty pipeline. Leah didn't need to call him. He knew.